There's a very specific kind of frustration that hits after you leave the store. Not when you're shopping, not when you're paying. It hits later, when you're at home, using what you bought, and you suddenly realize something important is missing. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many times have you thought, I was literally just at Aldi, why didn't I grab that? That's not bad luck. That's missing information. This list is about those items. It starts with small, practical things people overlook. Nothing flashy at first, but each item solves a bigger, more annoying problem than the last. And the final item? That's the one people actually regret not grabbing when they had the chance. Stay with me, because this is where smart shopping quietly beats big brands. 9. Radiance Original Blue Dish. Detergent priced at $2.35 looks completely ordinary at first. It is just a bottle of blue dish soap sitting quietly on the Aldi shelf. No premium claims, no bold promises, nothing trying to impress you. Most shoppers walk past it without even slowing down. That is how it quietly sets up big brands for embarrassment. Here is the frustration you already recognize immediately. You are halfway through washing dishes after a long day. Grease sticks to the plate no matter how much you scrub. You keep adding more soap, hoping it finally works. A simple task suddenly feels heavier than it should. This dish detergent solves that problem without noise. You use a smaller amount and the grease breaks down fast. Plates come clean with fewer passes of the sponge. The sink stops feeling like a second full shift. Everything finishes faster with less effort. Later, a quiet realization starts to sink in. Why did this work as well as the expensive brand? Why did I assume price meant power this whole time? Nothing about the result feels cheap or weak. That moment changes how people see store brands. This item sells fast because behavior changes quickly. Once someone switches, they do not feel a reason to return. They stop paying more out of habit or routine. They trust results instead of logos on the bottle. That shift spreads naturally inside real homes. Be honest with yourself for a second here. How many times did you grab the name brand automatically? Did you ever stop to compare how it actually performed? Or were you paying for comfort without noticing? Because the next item fixes a problem that follows you outside the kitchen. 8. Crofton 16-ounce glass cup with straw, $3.99. It sits there quietly next to trendier and more expensive drinkware. Nothing about it feels urgent or special in the moment. Most people assume it is just another cup. That assumption is exactly why big brands lose this comparison. Here is the practical frustration people deal with every day. Plastic cups stain and hold smells after a few uses. Metal cups change the taste of coffee and juice. Trendy drinkware looks nice but costs way too much. You end up paying more just to avoid small annoyances. This glass cup solves those problems without effort. Iced coffee tastes clean and exactly how it should. Juice stays fresh without picking up flavors. Water feels simple again instead of artificial. And cleaning it takes seconds instead of scrubbing. Later, a very honest thought shows up. Why did I pay $25 for the same experience? Why did branding matter more than function? Nothing about this feels cheaper or worse. That is when comparison starts to feel uncomfortable for big brands. This item sells fast because behavior repeats itself. People buy one just to test it out. Then they realize they need another one. Then another for someone else in the house. The shelf empties quietly without promotion. Be honest with yourself for a moment here. Have you ever bought something just to try it and immediately wished you grabbed two instead? How many times did price stop you for no reason? Because the next item moves from convenience into daily routine. 7. Benton's Chocolate Sandwich. Cream cookies, $2.75 feel simple at first. They look like just another pack of cookies on the shelf. Nothing flashy, nothing trying to grab attention. Most people assume they will be there next time. That small assumption is where regret usually starts. This is not really about cookies. It is about running out without realizing it. You assume there will be more later. Then one afternoon, the package is suddenly empty. Someone finished them and nobody said a word. This item solves that problem quietly and consistently. At this price, you can restock without thinking twice. You stop saving them for later and just enjoy them. They become part of normal life instead of a treat. That changes how people shop the next time. Later, people admit something very honestly. Okay, these taste closer than I expected. They do not feel like a cheap substitute. They feel familiar in the best way. That moment surprises people more than the price. These sell fast because families do not buy one pack. They buy replacements without planning to. The cookies disappear faster than expected. The empty shelf becomes a reminder. I should have grabbed more last time. Quick question before we continue here. Have you ever underestimated how fast a snack disappears at home? If you want to stop realizing too late that you missed the better option, subscribe and like here on Frugal Steals so you catch these earlier. Because the next item fixes a problem people ignore until it affects the whole day. If you don't want to keep realizing after the fact that you missed the better option, hit subscribe and like here on Frugal Steals. It helps you catch these before they're gone. Because the next item fixes a problem people don't notice until it affects their whole day. 6. Friendly Farms Plain Greek Yogurt. 32 $5.49 looks boring at first. Plain yogurt with no flavor hype or bold promises. Nothing on the label tries to impress you. It feels easy to skip without thinking twice. That is usually where people make the wrong call. Here is the real frustration behind it. You want something flexible that fits many moments. Breakfast in the morning, then smoothies later. Maybe recipes or quick snacks during the week. Most tubs cost more, so you start holding back. When yogurt feels expensive, you stretch it. You use less than you want. You save it for special moments. Or you stop buying it altogether. That turns something useful into something limited. This one changes that behavior quietly. At this price, you actually use it freely. You scoop what you need without hesitation. It becomes part of daily life again. That freedom is what people feel immediately. Later, a simple thought shows up. Why was I rationing this before? Nothing about the quality feels lower. The only difference was the price. That realization builds trust fast. This item sells quickly because it becomes a habit. Once it enters the weekly routine, it stays there. People plan meals around it without thinking. They stop questioning the value every time. Because the next item jumps straight into regret territory. 5. Mama Cozzi's 16-inch cheese deli pizza priced at $6.59 gets overlooked easily. It sits there quietly with no urgency attached to it. Nothing about it feels exciting in the store. Most shoppers assume they will figure dinner out later. That decision usually comes back to haunt them. Here is the moment this problem shows up. It is 6:30 in the evening after a long day. Nobody wants to cook or clean another pan. Delivery suddenly sounds tempting and very expensive. That is when regret starts forming. This pizza solves dinner without any drama. It is big enough for more than one person. It is simple enough that everyone agrees on it. And it is ready fast without extra effort. Dinner gets handled before stress takes over. Later, a very clear thought hits people. I could have saved so much just grabbing one. No waiting time and no delivery fees. No surprise charges or cold food. Just a smart decision made earlier. This item sells fast because memory kicks in. People remember nights when dinner felt harder than it should. They remember paying too much out of convenience. Next time they see it, they do not hesitate. Experience does the convincing on its own. Be honest with yourself right now. Have you ever paid for delivery when this would have worked? Did convenience end up costing more than expected? How many times has that happened already? Because the next item feels small but solves a problem people complain about constantly. 4. Simply Nature. Organic tart cherry juice priced at $5.49 sits in a category people overpay for. It lives next to wellness drinks that promise a lot and charge even more. Most of those bottles look small for the price. The labels feel premium, but the value feels questionable. That is where frustration usually starts. Here is the problem people quietly avoid. They want something that supports recovery or sleep routines, but the price makes it feel like a luxury choice. Small bottles disappear fast, and replacing them gets expensive quickly. This juice offers the same practical use. You pour it without feeling guilty about the cost. It fits naturally into a nightly routine. It feels usable instead of precious. That changes how often people reach for it. Later, a simple realization shows up. I did not need the fancy label after all. The result feels the same. The only thing missing was the markup. That moment reshapes how people view wellness shelves. This item sells because it is bought with intention. People do not grab it on impulse. They buy it for a reason and keep buying it. Purpose creates repeat behavior. That is why it does not stay long. Be honest with yourself for a second. Do you buy wellness products or avoid them entirely? Does price stop you before value even matters? How many routines did you never start because of cost? Because the next item shifts from food into real-life logistics. 3. LS Live in Style Foldable Rolling Tote, $29.99, does not look essential at first. It seems like something you could live without. Most people do not realize its value while standing in the aisle. They assume their hands can handle one more trip. That assumption usually lasts until reality kicks in. Here is when the problem shows up clearly. Your hands are already full with bags or baskets. Laundry needs moving or groceries need unloading. You go back and forth more times than you planned. What should be simple turns into a hassle. This tote quietly fixes the problem of movement. One trip instead of 3 makes a real difference. Everything rolls instead of being carried. Your arms stay free and your pace stays steady. The task feels lighter immediately. Later, a very honest thought appears. I should have had this years ago. Why did I make things harder than necessary? Nothing about this feels extra or wasteful. It just feels practical and overdue. This item sells fast once people see it in action. They picture it in their own routine instantly. Groceries one day, laundry the next. The use becomes obvious without explanation. Trust forms through imagining daily use. Be honest with yourself right now. Have you ever carried too much just to avoid buying one more thing? Did pride or habit make the job harder? How many times did that slow you down? Because the next item is where real trust fully forms. 2. Ambiano 3.7-quart digital air fryer, $39.99. Feels like a big purchase at first. It sits there looking serious and practical. Many shoppers pause and hesitate when they see it. They assume a lower price must mean a compromise. That assumption is exactly where big brands benefit. Here is the real frustration behind that pause. You want quick meals without making a mess. You want less oil and less cleanup after eating. You want something that works every night. Most big brands charge extra just for the name. This air fryer quietly does the job it promises. It heats evenly and cooks food the way you expect. Meals come out consistent without extra steps. Cleanup stays simple instead of becoming another chore. Nothing about it feels complicated or fragile. Later, a clear realization hits people. I paid for performance, not branding. The food tastes right and the routine feels easier. The result matches what expensive models offer. That moment changes how value is measured. This item sells fast for a simple reason. Once it is gone, people start comparing prices. They realize how much more other brands cost. Waiting suddenly feels like a mistake. Regret shows up after the shelf is empty. Be honest with yourself right now. Have you delayed buying something useful because it was cheaper? Did you assume lower price meant lower quality? How many meals stayed harder because of that thought? Because the final item is the one people talk about after it is gone. 1. Specially selected burrata. $5.15. This is the one. People walk past it. They think it's for later or for a special occasion. Then it's gone. This solves something emotional. It turns a regular meal into something memorable. And later, the thought hits hard. I should have grabbed more. It sells out because people don't realize Aldi prices something this premium until it disappears. Be honest. Have you ever skipped something small that would have made a normal night feel special? If you've ever missed one of these, it wasn't bad timing. It wasn't bad luck. You just didn't have the information yet. And now you do. If you want to keep shopping smarter, not louder, not trendier, watch the next video on your screen right now. Because missing out isn't a mistake. It's just a signal that next time you'll know exactly what to grab.